Incident 1. On June 12, 2017, a summer parade in Maple Ridge drew thousands. Among the performers was 24-year-old float technician Liam Carter. He had joined the crew only 3 weeks earlier. That morning, he checked the support cables beneath the main float. Everything looked stable, though he noted one cable felt slightly loose. The streets filled with music, confetti, and cheering families. Liam walked beside the float, monitoring its slow movement. The route narrowed as the parade entered the old Market Street. A sharp turn caused the float to wobble harder than expected. Liam stepped closer to inspect the shifting frame. The loose cable snapped with a metallic crack. The rear panel dropped suddenly toward the pavement. Liam tried to brace it, shouting for the driver to stop. The float's wheel rolled forward faster than he anticipated. He slipped on scattered confetti near the curb. The collapsing panel pinned him against the wheel's path. Bystanders screamed for the driver to halt immediately. Marshals ran in, waving flags and signaling an emergency stop. The float finally halted, but the damage was already severe. Paramedics pushed through the dense crowd within minutes. Despite rapid treatment, Liam was pronounced dead at the scene. The parade was suspended, and crowds silently dispersed. Investigators later confirmed the cable had been improperly refitted. New safety protocols were introduced for all future parade floats. Liam's death remains a sobering reminder of overlooked mechanical risks. Incident 2. On September 3, 2021, the Harborview Lantern Parade filled the coastal boardwalk. Among the marching volunteers was 19-year-old drummer Evan Miles. It was his first year performing in the parade's opening rhythm line. Evan spent the afternoon tightening the straps on his large drum. He noticed the parade's giant lantern float shaking slightly in the wind. As dusk settled, thousands gathered along the waterfront. Evan marched in sync, tapping a steady beat with the drum line. A sudden gust pushed the lantern float's tall frame sideways. Parade staff shouted instructions, trying to stabilize the structure. Evan moved closer to give space to the handlers. Another strong gust twisted the upper lantern pole violently. The pole snapped, sending a heavy beam swinging downward. Evan stepped back but misjudged the swing's angle. The beam struck the ground inches from the drum line. The impact caused the float's side platform to buckle. Evan was caught on the edge as the platform collapsed. He fell between the float's wheels as it continued rolling slowly forward. Spectators screamed for the operator to stop the float. Staff sprinted toward the driver, signaling frantically. The float halted, but Evan was critically injured beneath it. Medics rushed in from a nearby aid tent. Despite rapid intervention, he did not survive the crush injuries. The lantern parade was canceled for the rest of the evening. Investigators later cited improper anchoring of the lantern frame. Evan's death prompted a full redesign of all tall structures used in the event. Incident 3. On April 27, 2014, the Riverside Spring Parade took over the downtown district. Leading the performers was 32-year-old stilt walker Mara Holden. She had entertained at parades for nearly a decade. That morning, she inspected her aluminum stilts for cracks. One joint looked slightly worn, but she believed it would hold. The parade began with bright music and slow-moving floats. Mara towered above the crowd, waving confidently. The road ahead narrowed due to street construction barriers. Parade staff guided performers closer together to pass through. Mara adjusted her stride to stay balanced in the tight space. A child accidentally released a balloon that drifted into her path. Mara leaned aside to avoid stepping on it. The worn joint on her left stilt suddenly snapped. Her upper body pitched forward uncontrollably. She reached for a nearby float railing but missed. Mara fell from her full height onto the uneven pavement. The fall knocked her directly into the slow-moving flower float behind her. Spectators screamed as handlers shouted for the driver to stop. The float braked, but not before rolling onto Mara's collapsed stilt frame. Performers rushed to lift the decorations and access her. Medics arrived within moments and began resuscitation efforts. Despite their attempts, Mara died from traumatic impact injuries. The parade dissolved into silence as news spread down the route. Safety officials later blamed fatigue in the Stilt's aging joint. Mara's passing pushed event organizers to require strict equipment inspections. Incident 4. On July 9, 2018, the Meadowbrook Heritage Parade moved through the Old Town Square. Among the participants was 28-year-old horse handler Daniel Ross. He had worked with parade animals since he was a teenager. Early that morning, he checked the harnesses on a decorated carriage horse. The animal seemed calm but unusually restless around loud noises. Crowds gathered as brass bands echoed between the brick buildings. Daniel walked beside the horse, keeping one hand on its reins. Firecrackers popped unexpectedly from a nearby vendor stall. The horse jolted, stamping hard against the pavement. Daniel tightened his grip, trying to steady its movement. Another loud burst echoed under the narrow archway. The horse reared suddenly, pulling Daniel off balance. The metal carriage behind them lurched forward. Daniel stumbled and fell beneath the moving front wheel. Spectators shouted at the driver to stop immediately. The frightened horse continued pulling the carriage for several more feet. Parade marshals sprinted toward the driver, waving red flags. The carriage finally halted as dust settled around the wheels. Daniel lay motionless while bystanders cleared the area. Medics rushed in and began rapid trauma assessment. Despite their efforts, he was pronounced dead at the scene. The parade was cut short as officials secured the animals. Investigators later confirmed the firecrackers were not authorized. New noise control rules were created for all future events. Daniel's death remains a reminder of the risks of animal-driven parades. Incident 5. On October 16, 2015, the Grand River Autumn Parade wound through Willowport's Main Avenue. Marching near the front was 41-year-old banner carrier Sophia Hale. She had volunteered in the community parade for years. Earlier that day, she assembled her heavy wooden banner frame. One side hinge felt slightly stiff but still functional. The parade began smoothly, with cool winds and scattered leaves. Sophia walked proudly, holding the wide banner above her shoulders. The wind grew stronger as the parade reached the riverfront bend. The banner fabric snapped loudly in the increasing gusts. Sophia tightened her grip, adjusting her stance. A violent crosswind suddenly hit from the left side. The stiff hinge twisted instead of rotating. The entire banner frame swung sharply toward her. Sophia was struck in the chest and stumbled backward. The force knocked her into the moving float behind her. The float's driver didn't see her fall in the blind spot. Spectators shouted desperately for him to stop. The float rolled forward several more feet. Marshals pushed through the crowd, waving emergency signals. The vehicle halted as dust drifted beneath the wheels. Sophia lay pinned and unresponsive. Paramedics arrived within moments and began CPR. Despite efforts, she was declared dead shortly after extraction. The parade was suspended while officials inspected all banner rigs. New lightweight, wind-safe banner frames were mandated the following year.